Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about comic books, costumes, facts, boots, and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Do A Powerbomb Part 2.
Welcome into I did the wrong one.
It's okay. We're good.
Yeah, it's okay.
We were small, now we're big.
Yeah, you try to check everything, and
yeah.
Oh well. Welcome into that's a great way. Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always. I think I said muscle-bound last week, so
muscle-bound.
The master of his own masculinity, Mr. Mike.
Ooh, I didn't like that.
Okay,
sure.
I don't know.
I have been married many times for lots of years, and so I am not the master of my masculinity. I can tell you that.
I'm trying to think of something to stay in the realm of I don't know, something of big strapping men, which kind of is a lot of superheroes in general. But we are staying in the world of professional wrestling this week as we wrap up Do A Powerbomb with part 2 this week. Just to get you caught up a little bit, if you wanted to. Well, before we dive in to finish it up, we'll give you a brief little synopsis or a summary, I guess is a better way to put it. But I really love everything just about this comic. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. Part 2 of the story is going to be just as fun and just as great as the beginning. Daniel Warren Johnson, the creator, writer, illustrator for all this, Mike Spicer, I believe, did the colorist, and then Rus Wooton with lettering, and the whole package is just, I can't praise it enough. It's just, it's fun. Yeah. And it's somebody who loves comic books and loves wrestling. It's a perfect blend because it pays homage. But you can see the beats from it.
Homage to your fromage.
Yeah, you can just, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun, the whole read. And so we're going to go ahead and cover part 2 today. You enjoyed part 1 last week,
I
right,
did
Mike?
enjoy part 1. Yeah, I thought it was really great.
Okay, you ready for part 2?
I like when they hit each other. That's my favorite part.
That happens a lot, and it's going to happen a lot. And it doesn't make the.
That's what it makes it say. Every fight I've ever been in.
Were you ever? Did we talk about this a little bit last? Were you ever a wrestling fan?
Oh yeah. Very much so. Stone Cold era, that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, the Attitude era.
I didn't know if as a kid, you.
As a kid, yes, but it was mostly from beautiful downtown Fort Worth at the Sportatorium, that kind of stuff. The 2 minutes, that kind of thing.
Bill Mercer, is that?
Probably.
I believe, yeah.
I watched a lot of that, and then my dad would take me to wrestling matches whenever they came to town. So we ended up over at a high school a lot, watching in a gym.
Okay.
But I've probably said this before, but my favorite part was when they would always have a little person match. And it was when that guy ran up and bit the ref on the ass. That was always my favorite part. And so,
how old were you? 27 at the time, or?
Yeah, probably somewhere between 8 and 12.
I got you.
Somewhere in there.
So, if you saw that
formative years,
would you be gleeful if you saw that reenacted
today?
Now, oh man, that's taking me back.
Oh yeah, I've done that. They used to do.
You've been the
I'd
the
have
ref?
not been the little person who bites, nor have I been the bittee.
Okay. Do you want to be the bittee?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Never got into that.
Each his own, I guess.
We did go see a all little person wrestling match out in the middle of nowhere. I just remember that it was behind a wrecker service in a field next to a house that had been condemned.
The things that you go to see and where you attend them are always
Yeah. I'm going to a weird thing tonight too. So yeah. Any weird stuff, I'm there.
How can we talk about like the weird thing you're
tonight?
Going to tonight real quick?
Oh, it's not as weird as you would think. It's do you know who I'm talking about when I say Adam Curry? Guy who used to be on MTV.
For what?
He was a VJ. So
yeah, okay.
He was one of the
I remember like Jesse
big
and
hair,
like
big blonde hair.
Oh, Dan Cortez, like
It was before Dan Cortez, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So he was one of the original ones.
That's where I'm at. Is like Dan Cortez.
He was one of the original ones, and he's from like Norway or someplace. I don't know, someplace cold with fish, and
Minnesota could be, but
no, it's like otherworldly, and so he anyway he is credited with inventing the podcast. That guy.
Okay.
And so I listen to his show every week because geeky stuff where I just listen to podcasts about making podcasts for the most part.
I get that. Like I love I watch how it's made. Like I love to get
So I want to be kept up to date and all that kind of stuff. And they talk about programming and all other kinds of crap that sometimes I understand, sometimes I don't. But he has started doing this thing where he will play music of independent artists on a show that he's got called Boostagram Ball, kind of a nod to Headbangers Ball.
Okay.
And he will play these songs, and you in real time can tip these people or give them money or whatever with Bitcoins and different things like that. Tonight he's doing a live version of that downtown Austin.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to Antone's and see him do this show. And it's more of a morbid sense of curiosity. Not morbid, but you know what I mean? It's just a sense of curiosity where I want to see how he puts this show together.
Can we get a follow-up next week then?
Yeah,
on how it turned out?
Please. Come on. You know my life is an open book, and I tell you everything. So, I got no problem with that.
Then, let's get a follow-up because I'm curious how that works out.
Casey Jones, my buddy who's going with me, he just wanted to know if Martha Quinn was going to be there. You know Martha Quinn, right?
From another MTV VJ.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you remember the Mojo Nixon song about Martha Quinn?
No.
It was called "Stuffin' Martha's Muffin." Is what it was called, and it was literally just him talking about having sex with Martha Quinn. Yeah. Without her, I don't think she knew about the song until it came out.
Oh,
so yeah,
I'm sure she loved it.
Oh, it's very flattering. Yeah, very flattering. That's how we used to do it. We'd put out a song about, having carnal knowledge with someone, and
unbeknownst to them,
and then it was cool. And then we'd play it around and we go, so what do you think? You like it?
Yeah.
I mean,
and she's like, I'm horrified.
Can we do this thing?
But,
I hate it. Oh, okay. Well, I'll see you later.
All right. Well, let's go on to something that we did not hate or people do not hate.
Yeah.
It's something absolutely fantastic.
How do we get from wrestling?
Terrible segue.
Stuffing Martha's muffin.
That's how.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I lead us down these paths sometimes too, and it's probably not the last one we're going to go down. The last 4 issues before the episode's over. So part 2, we have the last 4 issues, 4 through 7 here, but a quick recap before we dive into this week's. Our main characters are Lona Still Rose,
Jimmy the Brute,
and Cobra Sun.
Oh.
Lona is, we know as a young girl, lost her mother due to an accident in a wrestling match. She saw it, was there.
Yeah.
In a wrestling match she was having with Cobra Sun. So Cobra Sun essentially killed her mother in the ring.
But
it was an accident.
To.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
It was definitely an accident, but it's hard to let that kind of stuff go.
So that really, stuck with Lona Still Rose. Her mother was Ewa Still Rose.
Yeah.
She is approached though. If we fast forward 10 years, she's training to become a wrestler herself because she always wanted to be like her mother.
Sure.
And she's, pretty good at what she does. It's just nobody wants to train her because of what happened to her mother.
Well, yeah.
And everybody's kind of afraid of her.
Yeah, she's got a mark on her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, her dad doesn't want her to train at all because you saw what happened to your mother. I don't want to lose you the same way. Like that kind of, which understandable as a father for him to feel. She's approached by a necromancer. Yeah, I know this is where our story kind of takes a little bit of a turn.
Necromancer.
Who
Well, it is
tells
a comic
her,
book. I mean, come on.
It is, but it's great. Who tells her essentially like, hey, join my tag team tournament, and if you win it, I can bring your mom back to life. I can raise her from the dead. Lona's like, well, nobody wants to train me. I can't find a tag team partner. The necromancer, Necron, says, hey, I think there I
It's
might
a little on
know.
the nose, don't
It
you
is.
think? I
It
mean,
is, but I like it. He goes, hey, I think I know somebody who might help you out with that, and kind of nudges her towards Cobra Sun. Cobra Sun reluctantly agrees because he's like, I know about you. Like, you're green. Like, you're just going to be the cause that we, lose. But he's obviously still feels a lot of guilt for what happened 10 years ago, so he agrees to help, and they enter the tag team tournament together.
Yeah.
Kind of a swerve twist. We find out Cobra Sun is actually Lona's dad. Yeah. So they just never told Lona that since he was wrestling Hill when she was young, or as a bad guy there in her mother's face, they didn't think that she'd be able to process it too well of like, hey, I'm your dad, and I am just sitting there just talking so much trash about your mom, because they were also able to keep it separate because he wears a mask as Cobra Sun with long flowing hair, so you can't tell who's under the mask.
I think I would know.
I don't know. She was like 8, 7. You might not.
No, I mean like now.
Oh, that you'd be able to figure it out?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
well, here's the thing. Well,
does he have a voice changer?
No, but I don't think she's avoided him. Like, she's avoided seeing the guy who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't. I don't know.
Okay.
And also,
it's also a comic.
But
so I'm
well, it is.
suspending
But
a little bit of
also,
disbelief.
you would avoid the guy who was
Killed
involved
your
in the
mother.
accident.
Sure.
And since your dad doesn't want you to wrestle, and you are butting heads about that, you don't really talk to him that much anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that she doesn't know her own father's voice.
Whatever, Mr. Comic Book.
So they go to enter the tournament. Yeah. They get into a bar fight with a group named FISO, who tells them while they're there, like, hey, I think
that's where I got my last credit score.
That's true.
From FISO.
It was. That was FICO. But before we get there, I'll bring it up, and it kind of relates to it. Well, I'll just add in here. They get into a bar fight with a group called FISO, which stands for F Your Stupid Opinions, is what it stands for. So it's an acronym. And they tell them, like, we hear that, wrestling on Earth is just for show and pageantry, like it's not real. Let's see if that's the case. And they like break a glass open, and they're about to cut like Lona's face before their opponents in the first round of the tournament, a group of orangutans named Oranga Bang was their team name.
When you tell it this way, it seems when I see it in the comic book, I'm okay with it.
It makes sense. I'm just trying to condense.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. This sounds far-fetched. I'm telling you, go back and watch part 1.
Yeah.
And then it'll all make a lot more sense. This is not a stretch at all for any of this.
No, it's not. And once you see the pictures and all that stuff, and you get it, right?
Exactly.
But when you just tell it as a story,
me trying to condense it down, it sounds a little rushed, and I could do a better job there. I'm
I'm not blaming it on you. I'm just saying that it seems a little far-fetched when you say it all out loud.
But it all makes
at once.
sense if you go back again.
Yeah.
Part 1.
Yeah.
I'm more just kind of reminding Mike of where we are too. There was a part after, I didn't cover this in the last episode, but there's a part where Necron brings Lona back before like any nudges her towards like, hey, be partners with Cobra still, or with Cobra Sun. He tells her, or Lona goes, so am I going to win? And Necron's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you already have like, I'm going to win my mom back. Like, is that the big? And he goes, no, that's the beauty of pro wrestling. Like, nobody knows who's going to win. So we do find out a little bit earlier, but then also hear that obviously Earth is the only place where it's more predetermined and set up for show, and it's a partnership together. Everywhere else, it's real.
Out there in space, it's all real.
Exactly. So Lona and Cobra Sun have their first match against Oranga Bang, and they win, and they advance to take on a team of medieval knights. And that is where we ended issue 3, and we will pick up issue 4 this
They're
week.
not small medieval knights either.
No, they're
very
not.
Big. Very big medieval knights.
So what we have here is the cover for issue 4 of Do A Powerbomb, and that is the tag team they are facing.
Do a Powerbomb.
I don't remember the tag team name. My apologies. It's the two brothers.
Space Knights.
what we do find out a little bit about their backstory. Do you remember that the Orangutan was fighting for their sister? Like we do find out
everybody has some sort of
everybody
tie.
has somebody that they're fighting to bring back to life.
Yeah,
exactly.
They all have a why.
Which is compelling in a way because you know motivations and for them. And we find out that the Vikings team or the Medieval Knights team here, motivation is they are one of the groups that was battling Necron. Remember when he said I was going to take over the world and then I finally got vanquished here? He's fighting this group of people.
Okay.
And they think that they could have dealt the final blow and finally taken out Necron for good if they would have had, I think his name's Velkus the Red.
Sure.
Like their big, strong warrior who had died in battle.
Yeah.
So the two of them are training, and I love there's a montage of them training because they're going to win this tournament to bring back Velkus.
I do love the montage word. That's very nice.
It gets. I love the humor in this book too. I think we talked about it a little bit. There's a puppy punch, but there's other great beats of humor throughout the whole thing. Like it.
Yeah. If you didn't see last week's, go watch them punch a puppy.
And no, they're stopped before they punch the puppy.
You're not supposed to tell them that.
Well,
there might be some of those freaks
well, some
out there
people
that
might
just
be like,
wanna...
I don't want to see a puppy get punched and not go.
Yeah, but we've got freaks out there that want to see a puppy punch too. So,
do you think they listen to us?
Maybe.
Okay. And so there's a training montage.
I know a lot of people, Zach.
Yeah, sure. There's a training montage of them getting ready for the tournament. Then what happens is we get a cut back to Cobra Sun and Lona getting ready for the second match. And Cobra Sun tells Lona, hey, before you were born, you don't know this, but your mom and I were actually a tag team together. And Lona's like, oh, how was that? And Cobra Sun just tells her like how great she was. Like, you know, she could tell, what is it? It was like, how she would just move so flawlessly, and she was so great with her storytelling, and she just knew everything. Like she was just so phenomenal of what she could do as a tag team wrestler. And he talks about that he can kind of see that in her a bit, and we get like some flashbacks of Lona's mom and Cobra. Well, it's her mom and dad. Like she doesn't know it yet, but it's her mom and dad. They're wrestling together as a tag team.
It's really cool how it shows like she's got that soft tap off of the turnbuckle.
Yes.
And then everything else is just bam, bam. You can tell that this is all planned and executed well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. And we get to see that their old tag team finishing move was a thing called Sword Sunrise, a move. It's like a powerbomb clothesline combo, which will come back later then.
And at the end, they show their ding-ding right there.
Yeah. And so Lona says, since you two work so well in tandem together, like maybe you could show me some of those moves and we could use them ourselves. Yeah. And that leads to, that's what he's sitting there. He's like, everything fit perfectly. The flow worked. Like we worked so well together as a unit. And so Lona's like, maybe you can teach me these moves then. And we get another montage. Which I love, again, the way it's cut together of them training together and him teaching her.
If you're just listening to this, it is the words, another montage at the top. Yeah.
Which, I, again, love the humor.
Great. It's great.
Just the big splashes of color there of the training, like the action. And then, he's like, so how do you feel? And she's like, I feel like I'm ready to kick some ass. And there's like an explosion behind her and like oh, yeah. I just love the way it sets up for it. Well, the match does not go so well. Lona starts off, and she is just kind of beaten around the ringer by the big, muscly brute one of the medieval tag team. And they even
Would you say Eric the Red or whatever?
Yeah. Or no, Velkus the Red is who they're trying to bring back. I don't remember. It's like Maximus.
Oh, that's who they're trying to bring back.
Yeah, it's like Maximus and something else. We said their names at one point in time, but I don't remember what it is. But they go for their finishing move, which is called King Arthur's Table, which is kind of like the 3D mixed with a code breaker for very wrestling nerds out there, of the team move. And the skinny one's knees, as he crashes down to the mat, he like has them tucked into, it's hard to describe it over audio, but he's like has his knees tucked into his chest kind of, with Lona's head up against his knees as he hits the mat. Yeah. And it looks like, it's obviously a 1, 2, 3, but she is able to kick out of it. And then the big one beats her up a little bit more, and Lona still has that moment of like picking herself up. And because he's like, stay down now for good. If you know what's good for you, don't get back up.
Yeah.
And she has a nice little montage of like, you don't know who I am. Like, I'm Lona Still Rose. And like, my mom was Ewa Still Rose. And like, she just kind of wipes the blood off her face as she's just sitting there all beaten up.
Yeah.
God,
the art in this is really good.
It's so great.
Yeah.
The two battle
Really well
back and forth. She's able to, that's what it was. Cobra Sun comes in to help, and he does like a German suplex. And as he like has him down, Lona tags herself back in, goes back up to a turnbuckle and does a drop kick like right to the Adam's apple of the bigger knight, and she pins him. As she's pinning him, the little knight, medieval guy, goes to try to run in and break up the pin, and Cobra Sun stops him from doing that, and they get the 1, 2, 3, and Sun and Steel, since it's an 8-person tournament, advance on to your finals now.
Wow.
So, who are they going to face in the finals, you ask? It's going to be either Fizo, who we saw earlier at the bar, who they already have beef with.
Great vaccine, by the way.
They do.
Yeah.
That was Pfizer?
Oh, okay.
Right?
Sorry.
No. And then they're going to take on a team from Tokyo named Puropack. And they're confused.
What the hell does that mean?
Lona and Cobra Sun are confused when they're like, Tokyo? Like there's another team from Earth. And as they're walking out there, Fizo is kind of like, giving the same thing. Oh, look at you. Do your worst, Earthlings. Ha. Like, we're scared of you.
Yeah.
And one of the guys goes to take his mask off and goes, oh, don't you worry. I plan to. And it's Uncle Blood.
Oh.
So they are not the only ones. And Lona and
so what does
her
he
dad,
get out of it?
Lona and her dad are also surprised. They're like, what? And then she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, you think that you two are the only one who want to bring Ewa back?
Oh, okay.
And he's like, I'm the only ones that you're the only ones that Necron invited to. Like, she was my sister.
Yeah.
Like, that makes this my fight too.
Well, it's a good point, but he also must have known he was going to fight them at some point, or there was the possibility.
Well, maybe at that point they think one of us will just lay down and we have it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Or we'll fight honestly for it. But before he can finish that, like, this is my fight, he gets attacked before the bell rings, and Fizo just does their worst. They deliver one move that like attacks his neck, and then the woman like comes up behind him and just starts choking him.
Yeah.
And he's like already in a lot of pain, and he's like crying through it, and they're asking him to like, tap, and he's refusing to, obviously. Like, he wants to bring his sister back no matter what.
Sure.
So he's like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not. And like, here's the thing, eventually he passes out. He doesn't, like, he refuses to give up.
Yeah.
And so he passes out instead, and the ref calls for the bell because he's out.
Yeah.
But they're not done. Like, the woman refuses to let go, and she's like, think he learned his lesson for like kind of attacking us? And the other guy's like, no, I don't think so. And so he jumps from the top with like a boot right to his neck, and now he can't move. Like, this is after the match is already over. They keep attacking him.
Oh, my goodness.
And we find out that he has broken his neck.
Oh, wow.
But thankfully, Necron has hired the best doctors there because he doesn't want.
Well, they're space doctors. They should be able to fix that, right?
He doesn't want anybody to, like, get fully hurt here, but
sure.
Like, they're out. He can't be healed from that.
I doubt that he actually gives a shit whether anybody gets hurt or not. He
doesn't.
He wants them to continue.
Exactly.
He needs more content. He needs more fights.
So Uncle Blood will be okay, but like, obviously they didn't follow rules.
You break your neck, you're kind of screwed.
And
for a
so
little
Cobra
bit.
Sun tells him, you know what? I have an idea. We're going to show them just how real we can get.
That chair with the freaking barbed wire on it is crazy.
And he's got a bag full of, other weapons. There's some kendo sticks, a bat with barbed wire. But essentially he tells them, all right, they want it to make it real. We'll show them just how real we can get then. Mm-hmm. And so that ends issue 4 of To Do a Powerbomb. Issue 5.
Right?
Yeah.
You do it? Yeah.
No, that's elbow you hit. Issue 5, we start off with the cover there. It's going to be our final of Cobra Sun and Lona Still Rose versus Fizo.
Yeah.
But just like with everybody, we get to learn a little bit about backstory.
Okay.
So issue 5 opens up.
It's going to be Fiza backstory?
Fizo. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Again, I think I brought it up earlier, but we will give credit where credit is due. Writer, artist,
please.
creator, Daniel Warren Johnson. Colors, Mike Spicer. Letters, Rus Wooton. And variant covers by Tyrell, or this one for Tyrell Cannon. Each one had variant covers for him.
Nice choice of covers, Mike Spicer. Or colors.
Yes.
Dang it,
That's okay.
right.
So we're introduced to
this seems like it has a lot more detail in it.
this issue.
Just this that we're seeing now, this page. Like, look at that bed down at the bottom and that middle panel where the doctor's talking to him, the robot doctor or whatever.
Cool robot doctor, right?
Yeah, I guess. And then I don't understand why there's a paunch on a robot doctor, but he seems a little fat
He's had
for a
one
robot
too many
doctor.
donuts, Mike.
One too many screw-filled donuts.
But robot doctor comes in and it goes, Miss
Beep, bop,
Neva.
boop.
Yeah, it goes Miss Neva, and she goes, please, it's Maggie. Like, sorry, I'm
He
checking.
said, well, I am Samsung. So does he give his name?
I don't think it does. No, it just says, "Oh, hi, doctor."
Okay.
But she's like, she's there with oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, doctor.
It's good we make all these jokes because it's about to
yeah.
get sad. Because she's there with Maggie is there, who's behalf of the Fizo tag team.
Yeah.
With a dying child.
Okay.
And she goes, he woke up a few times, but he didn't talk. Like, I've been reading books to him, and he's been asleep. And the doctor's like, good. And she's like, doctor, tell me. And he's like, well, the latest scans come in.
This is her child?
Yeah, this is her child. And they're like, they don't look good, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And so Maggie's like, okay, how many days, like, are we talking about? And the doctor goes, at this point, we're talking hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so it's her like climbing in bed with her kid there.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a very somber moment. But then it flashes forward to, and I don't have it here, it flashes forward to them all meeting in Necron's office. And what they're doing is Cobra Sun essentially tells them, like, all right, we want this to be a death match. If they don't want to follow the rules, then we'll not follow the rules. Like, anything goes, no DQ.
Right.
And Maggie and her partner, which we find out his name's Frank, a Fizo, are like, no.
DQ's so good, though, with the little curly things on the top of the cones.
Yeah.
And
It's funny. They say that's what I love about Texas, but they're not even from Texas.
that's
it's like
what
from
I
Minnesota.
love about Texas.
But they're not. It's like a Minnesota company.
Yeah, it's just you go behind the curtain, you're going to see all kinds of rats.
Anyway, so Fizo doesn't want to do this. They're like, no, like, why would we do this no DQ match? And the other's like, well, you guys wanted to not follow the rules when you picked on defenseless people. Like,
so
we'll bring the fight to you.
The idea of doing a no DQ match is you can use anything you want.
On this,
it can be as dirty as you want.
They can pin them wherever they want, because you don't have to be in the ring, or maybe you do. It depends on some, but for the most part, you still got to get a pin to get the win. You can use the weapons you want. Yeah, there's no disqualifications.
Okay.
So that's what they pitch. That's what they want.
Can you use lasers?
I guess assume so. They don't have that. That's not one of the weapons they bring up. So thankfully,
space. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about it.
All right. No lasers.
So that brings us then to our main event of the night.
That's a tall ass ladder.
It is a couple tall ass ladders out there, and he's like, and now it's time for your main event. Like, in this corner, Sun and Steel, and from Earth and from planet to Sura, F your stupid opinions, or FISO. And we start our match, and there's a lot of like back and forth and just a lot of brutal action in this.
They beat FISO because I'm getting tired of hearing it.
Well, so like there's a lot of great back and forth. I don't have all the action again because you should go check it out.
You absolutely
should. You should go like buy it. Our library has a copy.
Yep.
I am about to purchase a copy for my own personal library because I love it.
Okay.
I have other stuff by Daniel Warren Johnson here too, because we covered the Superman story that he has, which is
my
absolute favorite. I absolutely love it. But
red and blue thing.
I want to give enough. I feel like I say it each episode, but give enough to give interest without giving everything away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even while we do spoil some of the story, in a lot of cases, a lot of the story, there's still nuance and other deeper stuff that
go buy the comic, folks. Go buy it.
So We start our main event here. There's some good back and forth action between the two of both of them getting in some fight, but eventually the fight goes outside, and Lona decides to climb up a ladder. We don't really know what she's doing. I guess she's trying to get away, but they are beating up Cobra-san, Frank and Maggie. Well, and so I don't call them FISO. We'll call them by their names, Frank and Maggie.
Sure.
Frank and Maggie are beating up Cobra-san outside, and goes to throw him on the table as Frank does as he's punching Cobra-san.
Sure.
And Maggie is shaking the ladder to try to get Lona to fall off. Well, Cobra-san regains kind of his wherewithal and punches Frank and moves and switches him over to the table like you see in matches of he gets the upper hand as Lona can't hold on to the top of the ladder anymore and falls off and falls down through, kind of turns into a senton bomb as she crashes through the table and through Frank. And I love the action on this page of just the sound effects of the and the kaboom. It's
really well done.
You feel there's almost like just an instance of you see the wind blow out from under the table of the action caused by this.
Can I call something out real quick?
Go ahead.
So growing up and when I watched wrestling and stuff, I saw people break tables a lot, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of broken tables.
Yeah. They are doctored in a way, not like fully doctored, but they're.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I'm going. Do you remember the first time you saw somebody fall through one of those tables, but it's one of those that folds in half anyway?
Just the opposite way?
Well, the table already folds, right? So it
has a crease in the center.
It's got a hinge down the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right? Makes it a little bit easier to go through that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
All right. So Pat McAfee and the rest of you guys out there going through these stupid freaking tables like this, you're not going through anything.
Well,
there's not much there.
I would still think I wouldn't want to do it. I would still think it could hurt.
I'd go through one of those.
Really?
There's nothing to it.
There is no way your wife lets you go through a table.
I didn't say that. I said I would do it.
Okay. Well,
I didn't say I'd tell her before.
I'm trying to figure out how we could get you to go through a table.
Give me a table. I'll go through it.
Well, okay, those Bills fans, I think, is more of it. Like you see them jump through.
Well, there's a lot of those tables that fold in half, and I'm thinking this is not what I signed up for here. Jim, what was the guy that does WWE? Jim
Varney?
Yeah, Jim Varney that does WWE. No, Jim Ross.
Oh, well, no, he does AEW stuff now.
I've seen that man go through tables, and they weren't folding tables.
No, poor JR.
That's what I'm saying.
I got to interview him once. He was really nice.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know everybody has their own.
Was that pre or
with
post?
No, he was
Bell's palsy.
It was. I mean, he's had that for a.
He's had it for a long time, but
yeah.
I remember when it happened. Yeah.
No, it was post. It was post.
Okay.
Well, he had it back even in the 90s. I feel like.
Yeah. I'm old.
Well,
I told you
okay.
that, Zach.
Fair enough. It could have been before that, but no, it was post. But he was really nice. Back to our story. So.
I gotta find out.
Lona goes through. He might have had maybe I'm misremembering, and if so, I feel so awful.
Why?
I don't know.
You don't know the guy.
I interviewed him once.
That's not the same thing.
So it looks like they have the upper hand, but the more fighting ensues outside the ring, and what happened?
1994.
Okay, I was okay.
Yeah, 94.
So Frank of FISO decides
he's had 3 attacks.
We need to take it.
It's not good.
No,
sorry. Go for it.
We need to take it up a notch, and so he finds thumbtacks from underneath the ring, and he decides he's going to use them. And so he throws them all down on the ground and then puts Cobra-san in this kind of like a Boston crab as you're just pushing him and digging him down into the thumbtacks more. You see what I mean, Mike?
Oh, my God. Yeah, look at that.
As he's trying to crawl away.
That's a lot of blood, man.
It is. Lona desperately tries to run in with a bat. Covered in barbed wire herself to try to break it up.
Yeah.
And she's hit with a chain to do so.
A chain?
Yes, by Maggie. But
so they wrap the chain around the bat?
Like she throws it kind of.
Yeah.
But they break, they fight from it.
Sure.
And I think Maggie gets thrown out of the ring somehow.
I like how he's on these tacks and it just says stab, 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 stab,
Yes.
stab. Little bitty stab, 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 stab.
I love this.
That's very good.
And eventually Cobra-san and Lona get the upper hand again, and they're going to go for her mom and his finisher. What was it? The Still Sunset?
Right.
The Powerbomb clothesline combo. And so Cobra Sun puts him up in the power bomb as Lona goes to the top rope to get ready. And Frank's like, no, you can't do that. You don't deserve this. And he starts like poking at his eyes and like ripping at his mask.
Oh my God.
And he's like, no. And about that time, he like goes to cover his mask and he turns around and Lona sees it and goes, Dad? What? And she realizes Cobra Sun is now her dad.
And she's about to get hit with something.
As he's like, Lona, behind you. And it's a glass tube right to the back.
Those also, by the way, there's nothing there.
I know, a fluorescent tube.
All right. It's like the kendo sticks.
It is. But at the same time, I love that he's paying,
Sure.
he's paying homage to everything. And
No, I get that part.
And I love the blast of color there at the top.
It's very nice.
It's gorgeous. As she just falls over.
You definitely can see the impact.
Yes, and Cobra Sun, or her dad, is going to break up the pin, but Frank holds him back, and she goes to pin him, and Maggie goes to pin Lona 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
And they lose.
Oh, no.
And what we get then is a flashback.
She done losed it.
Yeah, they lost. And what we get is a flashback to the two of them of Maggie walking in, and she goes, "Are you Frank?" And he's like, "Yeah, heard about your boy. Sorry for your loss." And she goes, "Yeah, me too. How'd you lose yours?" And he goes, "She was with my wife in a car, drunk driver. She was 6. And so they're sitting there just kind of, do you think this necromancer guy is really telling the truth? Like he can do this? Or do we trust him? And Frank goes, "I don't care. What do we have to lose? Nothing, I guess. But what we'll do is we'll train harder than anybody else. And after we win this damn thing, we can decide which one of our kids will return." And so they sit there and they get the titles. And he's like, "All right, our winners. Congratulations, guys." Because the two of them are looking like we agreed, to the death. And he goes, "To the death." As Frank and Maggie look like they're about to square up, and they're not interested in the titles at all.
Yeah.
And they're about to fight to see whose kid they bring back to life.
Yeah.
And that ends issue 5 of
What a terrible selfish choice
Powerbomb.
in space.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're going to fight for it.
Huh.
So there you go. That
wow,
is
I did not
issue
expect
5.
her to lose.
For them to lose?
Yeah. I did not expect that. Good job. Misdirection.
Misdirection.
Loved it.
But that's not where our story ends, as we will now go ahead and dive into issue 6 of Do A Powerbomb, which I
there's
love
how many?
the
8?
art for this. There's 7.
Oh,
So
7. Okay.
we got 2 more left here.
Okay, that's great.
I love the art.
I love that.
The cover
Whatever
on
that
this
is.
one,
Yeah.
with the snake going through as he sits on like this icy kind of like rock throne. Cobra Sun does. The cover for 6 is just fantastic. We get a flashback then to, this is the night that Yua died then in the ring.
Okay.
And like it's Uncle Blood there and Cobra Sun, or her dad, and Uncle Blood says, "All right, she's asleep." And he's like, "All right, thank goodness. Like, Blood, I tell you, like, I got to thank you for everything." And he slaps him and he's like, "What happened?" He's like, "I'm telling you, I've done that move hundreds of times." He's like, you don't know. He's like, "Look at you. You're so small without that mask. What are you even?" And he like slams the door and leaves. Obviously, he's upset. A brother who just lost his sister.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and he's just taking it out on the wrong person is what it is.
He is.
But it's unfortunate because this dude, I mean, shit.
Our issue continues as we get some backstory, and there's some awesome action here, but we see that Cobra Sun is fighting for another promotion. And there he notices, as you see at the bottom, a woman in the front row watching, which turns out to be Yua.
Yeah.
See, she's like, "Hey," it's kind of cute. Like as she's just sitting there.
Yeah, sure.
We find out that Yua works for the Tokyo promotion where we started that match that she had. And that they had sent her out to kind of be an agent scout too, to like find new talent to bring back over there too.
Yeah.
And so she was watching his match, and like, even though he's been wrestling for 2 years, like he does pretty well, but she's like brutally honest with him. Like, you could change this, this, and this. And he's like, "Oh, okay. Like, thanks. Like, you are brutally honest." And she goes, "That's one of the things you're going to learn to love about me." Like, it's kind of this cute little, like, even from the beginning, like, their relationship kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And then we get flashbacks. So we cut between the flashbacks from that, of what's going on in his past to what's going on currently. And so like Lona is still out, and they're like strapping her down on a gurney. as Cobra Sun is like very concerned about Lona there. Frank and Maggie are fighting in the ring, and like Maggie gets thrown out and crashes into Cobra Sun.
They're just fighting around all this.
Yes, because they're fighting to the death to see whose kid they're going to bring back.
Yeah.
And Maggie crashes to the outside and crashes into Cobra Sun. And Frank goes to like dive to jump on her. And Cobra Sun's like, no, this is enough. And like catches him in the air. And Frank's like, no. And he just like drops him down, like kind of like a tombstone.
Yeah.
But it's directly like neck down, like, you
Gotcha.
know, on him. And he's like, you've hurt our family enough. And like, you know, and he leaves him there. And Cobra Sun kind of goes back up with Lona to address like how she's not feeling well, she's hurting.
Yeah, sure.
We see Maggie then stand over Frank as he's like trying to like get himself back up, and he's reaching over for a bat with barbed wire as Maggie has the title in her hand, and she's like, to the death, Frank. You were a great tag team partner. And she like goes to like swing like the title down, and he's like, and so are you, Maggie. As the barbed wire he's pulled off the bat, he kind of wraps around her throat, and the two of them are just like going at each other.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have it. There you go. See, he catches them and plants them. But so while they're back there and Cobra Sun is staying with Lona, and he's like, I'm sorry. She's like, Dad, why didn't you like tell me? And he's like, I what? And she's like, you heard me. Like, your mom, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't let you see who I really was. And she goes, but I know who you are. You're my dad. And about that time, Necron kicks in the door, and he's like, all right, Lona, can you walk? And Lona's like, and he's like, good. I need you both out in the ring now. And Cobra Sun's like, but we lost. And he's like, yeah, do you think I'm an idiot? But my current champions just killed themselves, and we can't close the night. We can't close the night without a champion.
So they killed each other.
They fought each other to the death.
Both of them are dead.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't work out.
No, and so they go back out there, and they accept the titles, and they're like, and Lona's like, so does this mean that I get my mom back, Necron? And he's like, after this, we go to the Resurrection Chamber. Sure, just take these titles. Like, come on. Like, he's like, if we don't have champions, no one will buy tickets to the next tournament. Sure. So they have this nice moment where they both take the titles and they collapse down in the ring there. And he's like, all right, thank you all for coming tonight. And so he then takes them up to the chamber, and he's like, all right, let me go get all my ducks in a row, and then we'll do this.
Let me go get all my resurrection
my
ducks
necromancing ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And while they're sitting there, like, there's this nice moment between the two of them of where, you know, Lona says, like, when I saw it was you under the mask, like, I was relieved. And he was like, her dad's like, relieved. And she goes, all of that time you were trying to stop me from wrestling. I thought it was because of what happened to Mom. I always thought you didn't think I had what it took to be like her. And he's like, and she goes, now I know. And he's like, I know you had talent. I just couldn't bring myself to help you grow in that after what happened. And so it's a nice moment of then, like, she realizes, like, okay, like, I kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah. It was protection. It wasn't
but then
lack of
exactly.
But believing in her or anything.
Lona also brings up, but you talked about, because there is a moment, again, we don't cover everything in detail, where he tells her, like, how to get through a death match of, like, you got to take that pain and you got to push it down. You can't let it out.
Sure.
And Lona tells him, like, your advice there before that, like, I think that's what you've been doing. And I don't think that's good for you either. Like, you pushing it all down. Like, I think, like, you're obviously, like, beating yourself up. Like, this isn't how you deal with it. Like, you have to accept some of this and, like, come to terms with those feelings and things like that. Like, what happened?
Like go to a space wrestling ring and work it out there.
Yeah, Lona, she goes, like, when you hit it away, like, we barely talked. Like, we lost so much time.
Yeah, sure.
Like, they're having this nice little moment there. And she goes, I don't think Mom would have wanted you to feel guilty. Like, she knew the risk. And she tells him, like, it's time that you let it out. You can't keep, like, pushing it down, like, punishing yourself for it.
Yeah.
And her dad tells him, like, I know that you're right, Lona. I just don't know how to do it. Like, I get what you're saying. Right. And she goes, well, I don't either, but we can move forward together. And, like, they have this nice, like, I love you, Dad. I love you, kiddo moment. And Necron comes back in, and eventually he's like, all right, guys, follow me. And so they start going up these stairs, and they're like, where are we going? And he goes, well, I thought this might happen. You see, I told you that they banished me here, and I'm not as powerful as I once was. like some of my necromancy powers.
This guy sucks.
He's like, I thought they would be good to go this year. They're not really. And so Cobra Sun kind of gets upset. And he's like,
I bet he does.
He's
It's
like,
the only reason you're here.
he's like, what do you mean? And he like kind of turns on him. You lied to us. And that's where Necron kind of goes, have you forgot who I am? And he like grows himself really big. And he goes,
wow.
I may be an entertainer now, but I've like crushed millions of souls to just dust compared to you.
He's
like,
a big old dude.
He's like, I might not have the power to bring anybody back from the dead, but I can definitely still have the power to send people to it. And then he like comes back down. And he's like, now that we have that finished, and like just a very much like straight in time moment, he goes, alternate arrangements have been made. And Cobra Sun's like, what do you mean alternate arrangements? Another necromancer? Like, because Necron says, you said that, or I found somebody who said that they're willing to fight you in a 2-on-1 handicap match. And if you beat them, then they're willing to raise your mother with just a snap of their fingers.
So
and
now
that's
you
where
gotta do another one.
So Cobra Sun goes, another necromancer? And Necron goes, not exactly. Think higher. And he goes, you're going to wrestle God.
Yeah.
As they boom and like shoot up into the sky. And Lona's like, what? And Necron goes, I told you, they're a huge wrestling fan. Like, that's apparently in this, God's a massive wrestling fan. And so it's intercut in with
A couple things here have happened. Number one, the existence of God.
I love it.
And number two, gotta wrestle the dude.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No, I'm
That's
telling
rough.
you, oddly enough, this felt perfect for
Really?
this. To me, it does. Like, I love this. So
Okay.
we'll get through it.
Yeah.
It's intercut then like Cobra Sun in the future, like running through like the hospital, and he's got his mask on in its bag, and it turns out to be like him running to Lona's birth,
Right.
trying to get there from a match.
Okay.
And like he was like, oh, you forgot to take, your mask. He's like, and he like takes the mask off, and it's the nice first moment of him and his daughter there. Cut in with Necron explaining to him like, so this is it. Like, maybe you two have what it takes to finally bring down the best wrestler of all time. One last battle to get your mom back.
God is the best wrestler.
It does,
of all
and it
time.
shows up, and it's like, Sun
Wow.
and Steel, I have watched the entirety of the Death Life tournament. You're most impressive. Like, you're welcome to come battle, battle me for this. And that's kind of where it ends for issue
God
6.
has everything to choose from, but he chooses that.
I mean,
it's.
how are you going to draw them?
I don't know.
I think it's like he fits like an old.
Yeah.
Well, you think wrestling.
Yeah.
So it fits kind of like the old, what you would think at the dawn of wrestling, like the old Roman kind of like style in a way, but also very, I don't know. I loved it. I love how the crowd is chanting God back there in pink letters too.
Yeah.
It does look like potentially maybe Jesus might be the ref.
I think Jesus is the ref.
Again, I know it's ridiculous, but just
Hey,
hear it
we're
out.
already here. We're good.
Just hear it out. Give it till issue 7, and see how it all closes. But that there is issue 6 of To Do a Powerbomb.
That was cool.
So, you ready to close this thing out, Mike?
Stab. Yeah. Let's go.
Here we
Oh,
go.
look at this.
Issue 7 of To Do a Powerbomb.
God, they're
We
so
close
small
out
compared to everybody else.
Yes. To close out our story here, as we get ready for Lona and Cobra Sun to fight God. And this will probably be the issue that I get emotional and probably sob. So bear with me there.
Because you're on God's side? Is that what it is, or what?
It's really sweet when we get there. You'll see.
Okay.
So the crowd is all chanting for God, obviously, because it's God.
Sure.
He's the best wrestler of all time. Why would you not cheer for the best?
Okay.
Why are you shaking?
I don't
your head?
know. It's so weird to say that.
No,
Yeah.
I love it. So as Necron's then giving the introduction, because he's like, ladies and gentlemen, lords and spirits from across time and space, welcome to the fight of the century, a 2-on-1 handicap match for the ages. I'm assuming this is how it sounds like.
So a handicap match is 1 versus 2?
Yes, or
Okay.
3.
Yeah. I got you.
He goes, first in the red corner, the Drowner of Worlds, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, God.
You say the beginning and the end, and then you say Alpha and Omega. Aren't you saying the same thing?
Yeah, but it's flashier. Like,
Okay.
that's how they do in wrestling,
got you.
too.
Yeah,
They
sure,
say the
sure,
same thing. I
sure.
liked it.
Okay.
And then he goes, in the blue corner, the winners of my very own Death Life tournament, the unbreakable duo, the Serpent and the Flower. And he like kind of turns back to me. He's like, I kind of hope you'll give me more liberties, my friend, because it would be a crime not to. And then about that time, like there's like things start like, I don't know how to describe it, like sparkles, or that's not sparkles, but like stuff is moving around Cobra Sun and Yua, and Necron has given them flashy new costumes as he's like Sun and Steel.
Oh yeah, look at them go.
Looks cool. They look like an actual tag team now.
And I do like when I see God's mask up close. I do like the fact that it looks very like Roman or Greek mythology type. Yeah.
And he goes, all right, which one of you want to go first? And Lona kind of turns and looks at her
Who
dad.
the hell wants to go first?
Turns and looks at her dad and goes, Dad, do you want to? But when she says that, her dad sees her mom and sees Sheila and goes, honey, I wouldn't take this honor away from you. Like, go ahead. Lona finds out pretty quick that obviously Wrestling God is
a little tough.
As he just manhandles her around for a bit.
The handicap is not what you thought it was.
Yeah. I think there's or since it's handicap, I think they can go both at him at the same time.
Okay.
So like Cobra Sun comes in to try to break it up. And I love how when God talks, he's like, fret not, child. It will be over soon. Like, it's just very
biblical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like he kind of is beating up on Lona a bit. He's doing the same to Cobra Sun here. But Lona goes and actually, as he's going to pin, Cobra Sun breaks up the pin and goes to check on him and like, Dad, are you okay? And he's like, look out. And he ends up getting a crucifix bomb out. He's impressed by her, but he ends up getting a crucifix bomb. Which is actually the name of a real wrestling move. Okay. So that's what's kind of cool too, is he's interworking actual wrestling moves and all this, and slams her down. But then Cobra Sun and Lona finally get a little break where they get the upper hand and they decide it's time. We're going to go for our finisher. We didn't get to do it last match. It got broken up. But now I'm your dad and, you're my dad. Like, we have this bond that's even deeper now.
Right, sure.
Let's go for it. And so they do go, and I love this panel here, Mike. They do go for the Still Sunrise, and I just love the art on that there, of the sword there across and the,
Yeah, it's really well done. That's some beautiful art.
And they go for the pin.
I like the kick out. That's
they
nice
go for
too.
the pin. One kick out.
Yeah.
Because you're Wrestling God.
Yeah.
I do love the color is fantastic. We talked about it too. The art's great. The color's great. The letter, all of it's just, the whole work is great. Read it. Read the whole damn thing. It's worth it. And so
it feels very, what's that one with, Michael Cera?
Scott Pilgrim versus
it feels very Scott Pilgrim.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time. So of course I love
Scott
this
Pilgrim. Yeah.
God kicks out and he's working on getting up, and we're gonna have another moment. It's another great kind of just like wrestling. They're like, what? That's all we had, and it just got a 1. But then Necron, because Necron is your announcer for this,
right?
And he's like, wait a minute, and you hear like and he's like, what is that? It can't be. And you see a drop of blood.
Oh, God is bleeding.
Drip down from out of his mask and hit the mat with just a drip above that. And he's like, is that? Oh, they've done it. They've made God bleed. Like in very like wrestling, like promoter kind of way. And then.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
God suffers no fools. And he turns on him pretty quick. Not like in a, but
Pillars of Golgotha
as his finishing move, and he delivers it pretty swiftly.
And it destroys the freaking ring.
It destroys the ring, and it's 1, 2, 3. They're done.
Of course they are.
After they're done,
win this.
No, after they're done with the match, it's over, and they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, or ladies and lords, your winner, God."
Yeah.
But as they're going to like walk away, defeated, God says, "Sun and Still, like." It has really been many ages since any human has caused me physical pain. Like, you fought me with all the strength you had, and I present you the God belts as a symbol, not of your victory, but of your ability to go toe-to-toe with me.
Oh, wow.
And they both look at him, and Lona looks up at him and tosses it down on the ground and goes, I want my mom.
Yeah. That's the reason she signed up for the whole damn thing. Yeah.
And God goes over to her and goes, well, like, I can't, like, there's rules to things. Like, I can't just bring people back. But I can do something for you. Like he's like, I do feel for your pain and like for your struggle. So let me instead of bringing somebody back, let me unlock a memory for you instead. Oh. And she's like, what? And he puts his hand on her head and we get a flashback. Do you remember the very first episode, Mike? Our very first issue where she's laying in bed where we find her out before she dies, where she's like, where do we go? Where do we die?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we get again. And it's so she's telling her like, you know, where do we go when we die? And it gives the whole first part of the speech over again.
Yeah,
like, I don't know, but I know I'm not going anywhere for a long, long time. And that's where it ended in the first one.
Right.
Well, in this one, it picks up because like the door shuts and she opens it back up and she goes, actually, Lona, like, I don't know if it's going to be someplace like warm.
Yeah.
If it's going to be someplace hot.
Right.
If like what?
Yeah,
like, I don't know what any of this is going to be.
Sure.
She goes, honestly, I think it might be a lot like wrestling where she goes, people don't understand it sometimes of where it's all predetermined. Mm-hmm. Like, how could you get fun out of knowing how things were going to end?
Right.
She goes, but honestly, like, we all know how it's going to end for us. Like, we all know death is there.
Sure.
So her argument is, she goes, maybe it's like wrestling, and it's not about the end. It's the story in between there.
Makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what she's telling her there.
Yeah.
And so she goes, I guess that's what I'm saying is, I don't think it's about the end, Lona. It's about the story, and everyone's story is worth telling. Yeah. And no matter how it starts, no matter how it ends. And so Lona, a very young Lona, is sitting there in bed, and she goes, but when does the end happen? All right, but when the end does happen, she goes, will you be watching me? Like, even after you're gone?
Yeah. And
you see God, you see God pull his hand back, and you see her and Cobra's son in the ring hug.
And there she is, watching.
And that's where it ends.
The rest of those people are idiots.
Well, I think that a lot of these people, like, it's supposed to be like people who might be like dead, and I can't.
Well, I bet it's probably people that worked on the freaking comic. To be honest with you,
that's true too.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So it's just you see like
that's cool though.
You see a woman watching from like from the stands.
She just says,
and it just says, "That's my girl."
Yeah. That's very cool.
And you see a more full out one, and that is Do A Powerbomb.
I like how at the very end of this thing. I left. So at the very, I was going to try to point to it, but that's okay.
Oh wait,
hold on. No, you're fine. At the end of it,
there we go.
Yeah, I can't really do it anyway. I mean, I'd have to like, there you go. I just imagine me pointing to nothing. She's highlighted, but she's not.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like the designer in me, which is a very small little man, would make everything black and white.
Like you had them in your pocket? That's kind of weird.
Would make everything black and white and her in color and stuff. But this is like they've turned up the brightness on her and turned it down on everybody else. It's kind of like a spotlight in a way. It's faded and muted around. It's very cool. No. Yeah.
So
well done.
So there you go. That is our story for Do A Powerbomb.
That's a good series.
I really enjoyed it.
Very good series.
Fun, it was fun in the best ways. So what we got coming up later this week on Wednesday.
When everybody died, that was the best.
Our World's Finest Wednesday. We're gonna dab into Marvel, even though I know it kind of has a DC title.
Dab.
But we're going to look at the very first issue of X-Men. Do you know the very first issue of X-Men?
I maybe have read the very first issue of X-Men.
Do you know who the villain in the very first issue of X-Men is?
It is Donald Trump.
It is Magneto.
Oh, is it really? Yeah, well, I mean, that makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, from the beginning, he was always the big bad. But we'll go ahead and cover the first team, which I can tell you is Cyclops, Beast, Marvel Girl, which is Jean Grey. I think her name's Marvel Girl, and Iceman. That's your 4 team.
Iceman I was always
and Professor
a little
X,
conflicted about, but he's like a low-rent Silver Surfer. But because he has to stay attached to something all the time. Silver Surfer can go wherever.
Well, no, he can go wherever.
Not my Iceman.
Okay, well, we'll dive into that.
He was up there
Wednesday.
with Goose and with what's his face? No, I'm just kidding. I used to have a little Iceman figure. He came on like a little
I did too at one point.
roll around ice thing. That he was
I think
on.
I had one too.
Yeah, it probably still got it somewhere.
But so that's what we got coming up on Wednesday. As always, thank you guys for taking the time out to watch or listen to the podcast. We appreciate it very much. If you've ever gotten to the end of this here, like, I really appreciate it. Because there's anytime you take to spend out with us really does mean a lot to me.
It does. It means a lot to both of us.
It
yeah,
does.
absolutely.
I'm not trying to. Yeah, I'm not saying Mike doesn't care. Mike does care too. But
I care a lot.
So we really do appreciate you guys a lot. I found. Did you know they did a Wrapped, like a Spotify Wrapped for podcasts?
Did they?
Yeah. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't look at any of them, but
I looked at some of them. I'll tell you some. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Like, it made me feel good.
So what did it say?
I don't know. It told us. I don't want to talk numbers.
No.
But it told us like how many top 10s we were in, how many like top ones.
How many top 10s are we in?
85.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we still got 85 people fooled, so that's good.
I mean, but out of those 85, we were 15 of theirs favorite podcasts.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we knew that many people.
But that's just on Spotify. Like, that's not even counting stuff on YouTube, but like that stuff like makes me giddy.
You know, I make fun of it.
That people actually really like to listen to us.
But I do want to say that anybody who's taken time to listen to us or watch this, for God's sakes, God bless you, because thank you very much. It's what keeps us going. You know, when we see numbers, I mean, we did this for a long time with 0 numbers.
That's true.
And now we've got some numbers, and any of you that are around, we really appreciate you taking your time.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
And that's from the heart. It's not me.
Very much so.
Bullshit.
Well, in this, you know, it's nice to have these kind of messages during this time of year.
Absolutely.
This holiday season.
It's the holiday season.
Always make sure to check out the other great podcasts on the Rogue Media Network family of podcasts.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
I always appreciate you singing stuff. And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
You know what? Golly con.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.